Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Neha Singh from Aussizz Werribee. I had been working with Aussizz as a registered migration agent since 2019. So today we will be taking up questions from the applicants and the clients. If they have any questions related to migration or any other visa queries, you can just drop your questions and I will be able to answer those questions as much as possible. And if you have some specific case, we will be, you can just contact your nearest branch or you can just call me on the given number and we can just try to help you out with the questions, whatever you have. So before the crowd, before everyone start dropping their questions, I would just like to give an overview of the migration program, which has been announced for this financial year. For 2023 to 2024, the migration program has been announced by the Department of Home Affairs. For the skilled stream, they have announced 1,37,100 places, which is approximately 72% of the program. In this stream, this stream has been designed to improve the productivity capacity of the economy and fill skill shortage in the labor market, including those in the regional areas. This skill stream would include the 189, 190, 491 visa, business visas, global talent, distinguished talent, state and territory nominated visas, all of these visas. So for this year, for the skilled stream, the employer sponsored has been allocated 36,825 places. For the skilled independent, which is 189, they have allocated 30,375 places for this financial year. For regional visas, it's 32,300. For the state territory nominated visas, it's 30,400. And for business visas, it's 1,900. For the global talent visa, they have allocated 5,000 places. And for distinguished talent, it's 300 only, which makes total of 1,37,100 places for this for this financial year. Rest 52,500 places, which is 28% of the financial year, has been allocated to the family stream, which is basically partner visa, eligible reunion visas, child visas would be included in this stream. Apart from this, there are 400 places for special eligibility stream, which includes stream covering visas for those in special circumstances, including the permanent resident returning to Australia after a period of overseas. So this is 4,000 places for these visas. The total migration places for this 2023 to 2024 year is 1,90,000 as compared to the last year, which was 1,95,000 places. There is a drop of 5,000 places as compared to the last financial year, but yes, it's comparatively good places allocation to for this financial year as well. Now, if we talk about the state allocations for 190 and 491 for different states, Victoria is the state which has been allocated 2,700 places for 190 and 600 places for 491 for this financial year. Next is New South Wales, which has been allocated 2,650 places for 190 and 1,500 for 491 for this financial year. If we talk about ACT, it's 6,000 for 190, 600 for 190 and 600 for 491 visa. Northern Territory, it's 250 for 190 and 400 for 491 visa for this financial year. Queensland has been allocated 900 places for 190 and 650 for 491 visa. If we talk about West Australia has been allocated 1,500 for 190 and 850 for 491 visas. So total, if we talk about, the states has been allocated 10,300 places for 190 and 6,400 for 491 altogether for all the states. This year, out of 30,400 allocation, department has just given 16,700 allocations for 190 or 491 visa in total for all the states. They are saying that there are so much backlogs for the last year, so they do not want more migrants to get the that's why they have dropped the allocations for 190 and 491 for this financial year by 70%, which is a large reduction in the allocations. So yes, this is the allocation for all the states. Victoria is still closed with the requirements, though their allocations has been announced. They haven't announced their requirements yet for 491 and 190 visas. We are still waiting on Victoria to announce their requirements so that, you know, the prospective applicants can start proceeding for their state nomination visas. West Australia has announced is open for the migration for this year. They have been allocated the places also, and there are some few changes to the migration. They have introduced some changes to their state nomination migration policy, in which they have told that the nomination fees would not be charged from the applicants. They will be giving priority. They will be giving invitation priority for interstate and overseas applicant on an equal level. People who are working into building and construction industry would be given higher priority, as well as they do not need to provide any job offer letters for 190 for, as it used to be they need to provide it 6 months of job offer letter for the 190, which would not be required for these occupations, but it would be required for other occupations. So these New South Wales has told that they would be the guidelines would remain consistent with the last year's framework, though they haven't announced their skill SOL list for this financial year, which is still awaited by us. So now, if we talk about the questions which are coming up with one, Venkatesh has said, "Good morning, Jaspal. Is there any chance of invitation for New South Wales 190 onshore with 85 points?" So, so Venkatesh, I'm Neha, not Jaspal. First, Venkatesh, yes, New South Wales has announced that they would be conducting their invitation in September, this September. So yes, if you had been living and meeting all the requirements in 190 for New South Wales with 85 points, yes, you do have chances to get invited. So just wait for the invitation round to be conducted. One is Ashish. Have any developer programmer being invited? I have 105 points for 491 offshore developer programmer. So Ashish, if you're making 105 points as an offshore applicant, definitely you should apply. If you have applied, you just start now, because we have just entered into the financial year. So yes, definitely you have high hopes to be invited. South Australia had been a very good state which had been inviting offshore applicants for 491. West Australia is also a good state, and New South Wales also do require developer programmer with this much points, and hope you must be having good experience as well. So yes, be hopeful and just wait for the invitation round. I got a question from Garima. When can we expect 189 round next? So Garima, we do not have an idea when the invitation round would be done for 189. It's there's no such time frame, so you just wait. If you have lodged your expression of interest, keep it updated with all other requirements, like your PT and your skill assessment should be valid. So just wait, and if you get invited, we can you can start processing for that thing. We have a question from Pragati. I want to discuss about B2B. Pragati, I'm not sure what you are asking about B2B. Can you just clarify this question or with details? I've got a question from Ashish. Will invitation realistically happen for developer programmer who are offshore this year? So yes, Ashish, almost all the states were open for the offshore applicants for the last year. So hopefully they would be open for the offshore applicants this year also. But yes, because the competition is too high, they prefer the onshore applicants. But yes, if you are meeting the requirements as an offshore applicant and you're making pretty good points, chances are you might be invited for 491. So there is a question from Israel. Their chances for early childhood with 65 points is 190 visa. So Israel, this question seems to be a little incomplete. Are you an onshore applicant? Have you completed your studies as an early childhood, have got your 65 points, got your skill assessment, and you're still waiting? Chances are, because right now, because the states are closed, and as I told you, few states are still closed. If you are in Victoria, Victoria is closed, but last year Victoria invited early childhood for 190 with 65 plus 570 points as well. Yes, high chances to be invited for this occupation. How do we update second job for 491? Like if you are working 2 jobs. So I'm not able to answer, get this question. What do you want to ask for 491? Are you being granted the 491 visa, or you're still waiting on that thing? I got a question from Shanke. I got positive skill assessment in secondary teacher, but I have 10 years of experience in India with age group of 7 to 12 7 to 12 years. Can I claim experience points in my immigration process? So Shanke, are you in India or you are in Australia? If you are an onshore applicant, you can, and you have that experience. You are saying you have this experience in India. So yes, generally the skill assessment, got a skill assessment, but I have 10 years of experience in India with an age group means age group of 7 to 12 years. So yes, that would be counted. Okay, you are saying that you have worked with kids from 7 to 12 years, that would be claimed. And if you have genuinely worked with as a secondary school teacher in a school, yes, you can claim that experience towards your point system. So waiting for other questions, we can start for, we can discuss the latest updates from the immigration. So yesterday, the department has announced that they will be closing the pandemic event visa 408 visa from 1st of September onwards midnight. So whosoever is eligible to apply for the 408 visa, for example, your visa is expiring in the next 90 days, you can opt to go for the 408 visa. That is till midnight today. You can apply for your 408 visa, but if you are a holder of the 408 visa, then you can apply later after 1st of September midnight as well, but that visa would be granted to you only for 6 months. And for applying for the 408 visa, the department would be charging you $405 as the department fees for the visa application. The department also has announced that they would be, totally abolishing this visa from February 2024 onwards. So if you are eligible and you want to apply for the 408 visa, you can definitely go with that visa by today. Or if you are a holder, you can just apply for that visa later on, but it is only for 6 months. So we got a question from Tina. When will the 482 visa holder be eligible for 190 permanent visas? So Tina, if you are a 485 visa, 482 visa holder, and you have met the requirements of 3 years of working full time in your nominated occupation, and if your occupation is in the medium long term list, and you have an employer to sponsor you for the 186, you can definitely go for 186 direct entry. Once the nomination has been approved and you are making 3 years of full-time experience, even though you are, if you are on a 482 visa, which is, then you need to work for 3 years for the employer to be eligible for 186 TRT stream. So there are different streams for 186. One is direct entry. If you are making 3 years of full-time experience, you can straight away apply for 186 direct entry, or otherwise you can go for the 186 TRT stream as well. I got a question from Saif Ahmed. What are the chances of 491 Victoria with 70 plus 15 as a chef? So, Ahmed, right now Victoria is closed. As I told you earlier, Victoria hasn't announced their requirements for 190, 491 for this financial year yet. We are still waiting on them to announce the requirements. But yes, if you are meeting the requirements, definitely you should be eligible and you should be invited as a chef if you are meeting the requirements for 491 Victoria. So Tina is saying, should the 2 years full-time experience for 482 be continuous? And could the time I worked part-time be counted towards that by adding them together? So Tina, for the 482 visa, you require full-time, part-time, full-time, 2 years of full-time experience or equivalent part-time experience. It can be continuous or it can be in parts, like you worked 6 months with one employer, then you worked with 1.5 years with the second employer. Okay, but that experience should be undertaken in the last 5 years. And say if you have met the requirements of working full-time 3 years in your nominated occupation, you are eligible to apply for 186 direct entry. I got a question from Ranjit. 189 applied in December, IT occupation. When can we expect the grant? So yes, Ranjit, everyone is asking this question. Department keeps on changing their processing time for the visas. So yes, just wait, and definitely not many, few of our IT occupation clients have been granted their visa, and still few are still waiting. So you might be in the queue and you might be granted the soon. So you just wait, you have applied for the visa. So yeah, just wait for some time. I got a question from Nitesh. How good is 85 points as a chemical engineer for 190 in West Australia? So Nitesh, you have got 85 points, and are you meeting the requirements for West Australia? Are you living in West Australia, or you are an interstate applicant? If you are an interstate applicant, you have to just have to apply and wait for the invitation. 85 points is pretty good points to be invited for West Australia as an interstate applicant. They might be requiring you to provide a job offer letter of another 6 months as a chemical engineer full-time from an employer from West Australia. I got a question from Teddy. Unable to get 7 each IELTS band, is it eligible for accounting skills assessment with completion of PY without IELTS score? Is it eligible for accounting skills assessment with completion of PY? Yes, Teddy, if you have completed if you have studied in accounting in Australia and you have completed your PY, then IELTS 7 each or PT 7 each is not a compulsory requirement to apply for your skill assessment from CPA or IPA. You can just proceed with your PY and your completion of your qualifications to get your skills assessed. I got a question from Rahul. How do we update 491 2 jobs on portal? So Rahul, I'm not able to get your question. Like 2 jobs on portal means you are working 2 jobs. So you have to give all the details for your 2 employers, wherever you are working, on your IME account portal for that thing. Manvinder Singh, South Australia 190 chef outer regional 70 points, my chances. So Manvinder, if you haven't applied and you are now eligible to apply for 190 chef as a chef for outer regional with 70 points, chances are you might be invited, but right now South Australia is closed. So let them announce their requirements. After that, I can tell you, in detail the requirements and your eligibility. But yes, as compared to last financial year, you are eligible to apply for 190 South Australia. So there is an update for the student visa, as all of you know. The student visa, the people who used to come here on a certain course used to change the courses. So department has said that they will not be able to change the course before 6 months, and they have said that there would not be any concurrent COEs before 6 months of your principal. So it means that if you have taken up some courses like bachelor's or master's, after completing 6 months of your course, of your principal course, you would be able to get a concurrent COE like in some vet sector, and and you will not be able to change before 6 months. So this is one of the updates for the student visa as well. I got a question from Ibrahim. Hi, what's the possibility for the chef for New South Wales with 65 points for 190,491? So Ibrahim, New South Wales is almost with the same requirements as compared to the last year. So requirements are the same. If you have been living in New South Wales for if you consider 190, they require that you should be living there for 6 months in the state. And for 491, they require that you should be living there for the last 3 months. So if you're making 65 points of yourself, so considering 65 plus 15, which would be 80, you have pretty good chances for 491. But for 190, yes, a little competition would be there. So yes, you should work on your points as well. I got a question from Peach. I'm working as a hospital pharmacist in Pakistan. I have 9 years of experience. For which type of visa should I apply and for which state? So, Peach, if you are working in Pakistan for 9 years as a hospital pharmacist, I would say because you have experience as a pharmacist, you should go for your exam from CAPS. If your exam is cleared as a pharmacist, hospital pharmacist, you can go for the skill assessment as you can get your skills assessment, and then you can apply for 190,491 from offshore as well, because you have pretty good experience in that field. What a question from Rahul. There is no option to submit 2 jobs on the portal. How do we deal with that? So Rahul, I think we need to talk to you in this in personal. I can tell you how you can do about the how you can update your 2 jobs on the portal. I got a question from Maninder. What are the chances for motor mechanic with 70 points for 189, 75 points for 190, and 85 points for 491? Currently in Victoria, is any chance this financial year, and I need to move state for better chances, and where you recommend? So Maninder, you're making good points as a motor mechanic, but right now Victoria is closed for 190, 491. So I cannot tell you what would be the requirements for the state. And yes, for the last year, 491, people got invited with this much points for 491 Victoria, but you just need to wait and get an update on the requirements of the state. Once it is updated, if you are not meeting the requirements, then at that time you can make a decision to move to other states. South Australia had been a very good state earlier for the trade courses, motor mechanic and chef and everything. But still there also you need to meet the requirements of working there for 190 and 491. So just wait for some time. Maybe Victoria might come up with their requirements very soon. I got a question from Pereira. What are the chances for quantity surveyor with 70 points interstate applicant for 190? So Pereira, I'm not getting your question. Are you in Victoria or some other state? If you are asking for Victoria, then just let you know that Victoria is closed at present, and Victoria would not allow the interstate as it was not allowed for the last financial year. You need to be in Victoria, living in Victoria, and meeting the requirements of the state to be eligible for Victoria 190 as a quantity surveyor. How many years for chef experience to get sponsorship? So this question from is Leslie. Leslie, if you are a chef and you are looking for an employer sponsored visa, then for the 482 visa, you need 2 years of full-time experience as a chef to be eligible to apply for the 482 visa, plus you need a sponsor to sponsor you. And if you are looking for the 186 visa, then you need 3 years of full-time experience as a chef to be eligible for that visa. I got a question from Dini, 75 points, West Australia 491. Any chances of invitation? So Dini, your question is a little incomplete. Your occupation is not there. There is a question from SNG, 190. What waiting time from South Australia business analyst? 65 points. So as Singh, if you have met the requirements for 190 with 65 points as a business analyst, let the South Australia update their requirements. At present, South Australia is also closed. They haven't announced their requirements. They haven't announced their SOL list with the requirements as well. So just wait. If you have met in the requirements or you are working there, definitely you should be invited with 65 points for there. There is a question from Harsimran. Applied for 491 on 80 points and 190 on 70 points in general stream as civil engineer. So with limited number of seats provided to states this year. So can you tell me about my chances of getting the invitation residing in West Australia? So your occupation is civil engineer, you're making 65 points of yourself. So you are residing there in West Australia, and chances are you might be invited for 491 for West Australia, Harsimran, definitely. We got a question from Bishu. Where do you see the trend for accountants and auditors in, let's say, the next 6 to 10 years? We are already seeing a decline for invitation from the last few years. So I cannot tell you the trend for the invitation, but yes, Bishu, yes, because there is so much competition. There are so many accountants. Yes, there is a decrease. Australia do not require much of the accounting occupation. So yes, they are not inviting, but if you are an outstanding applicant with good points, good profile and experience, they are definitely inviting you. You need to see the requirements of the state. If your state, wherever you're living, is not inviting, they do not have this occupation in there, so less you can consider other states also as an accountant or auditor. You can move there and meet the requirements and you might be invited. There is a question from Venkatesh. What is the chances for 190 New South Wales onshore for the job information and organization professional NEC? So Venkatesh, right now, New South Wales hasn't announced their SOL list. We are still waiting on that. There was not much requirements for the experience in your nominated occupation, but if you have meeting the requirements, living there in New South Wales from the last 6 months and meeting the minimum requirements of 65 points, and you are working, definitely chances are you might be invited there. There is a question from Ritesh. Do we expect further allocations for 190 this year, knowing that the current allocations are provisional? Definitely, Nitesh, department has, there are some allocations still left for 190 and 491. Department has just announced 16,000 of allocations for 190, 491. Though they have roughly 30,000 allocations for the state and territory nominations this year. So we are expecting that maybe they might allocate few allocations to states for 190 and 491. They did it last year also. Victoria was allocated more places by the end of the financial year, like West Australia also was increased their allocation last year. So the premium of West Australia, they have announced that they have requested the department for further allocation for the states. Definitely they should be allocated because It can change from time. Yeah, definitely. I think we are not getting questions from the clients, so we should discuss the general things like people who are applying for different visas, and 408 is not an option for them anymore. People who were relying for their visa extension on the 408, which is which would be closed by the department tonight. There are some clients who are not eligible even today for to apply for the 408 visa. What options they can have to apply for to extend their visa application? If you are not eligible for any visa like the employer sponsor, you are not getting any invitations for 189, 190 or 491, you have options like student visa. If you have experience in your nominated occupation, you can find a sponsor to sponsor you for the 482 or 186 visa. There are other visas like 494 visa, which are regional sponsored visas. You can go for that if your employer is in regional and they are ready to sponsor you for that. For that also you need 3 years of experience. A skill assessment is also required for that as well. So there are different options based on upon different criterias. But if you are not making any options for yourself, then you have to opt for some studies. You have to go for a student visa only. That can be the last option for you. We got a question from SNG. I have already applied 3 months ago, 190. What waiting time from South Australia business analyst? 65 points. Okay, so you have already applied for the visa, SNG. So definitely you should be waiting. Department is taking longer time now, right now. 5 months to 9 months is the processing time for 190. But yes, sometimes it's taking longer for the department to decide upon the application. If you have lodged 3 months ago, yes, you should wait for some time and definitely it would be granted to you. As we were talking about different options for the clients, there are different scenarios based upon your personal circumstances. Like some people are on the 482 visa and they are looking for the employer sponsored visa because there are some criteria they are not able to satisfy for the 186 visa. Like they are not able to find an employer who is ready to sponsor them for the 186. In that case, you can go for GSM visa, which is 189, 190 or 491. 408 has been a very good option, though it is being abolished tonight. Otherwise, you can go for the 48 student visa, which could be a good option for you to start with. Like talking about the employer sponsored visa, 482, which is called TSS, temporary skilled shortage visa, which is granted to you for 2 to 4 years depending upon your occupation. You require 2 years of full-time experience into your nominated occupation. You need a sponsor who can sponsor you for the visa. And if you're meeting the requirements of fulfilling the requirements and your sponsor is ready, you can go and apply for the 482 visa, which would be granted to you for 2 to 4 years. If your occupation is in the medium long-term list, it leads to PR also. You can apply for 186 direct entry or TRT stream depending upon your personal scenario. But if your occupation is on the ROL short-term list, you are at present not allowed to apply for 186. There is no PR pathway, but you can extend your 482 visa for 3 times. But the department has announced that by the end of this financial year, they will be merging all the occupation skill list, and people who are on the short-term list also would be eligible to apply for 186 visa from 482 visa. So we have got a question from Pereira. What are the chances for quantity surveyor? It is full under construction and building sector in schedule to West Australia with 70 points. applicant for 190 from West Australia, currently living in Victoria. So Pereira, if you're living in Victoria, you would be considered as an interstate applicant for West Australia. And you fall into the general stream schedule 2 for West Australia. Definitely you need to, you are making good points, 70 points for yourself. Chances are you might be invited if you're, but they would be asking you, because it falls into the building and construction sector, they might not be asking you for the job offer letter because they have waived off that condition of 6 months for the people who are working into the building and construction sector. Definitely you should wait because they have announced that they would be prioritizing people who are working into this building and construction sector. Definitely you should be hopeful. We got a question from Dini, accountant, West Australia, 491, 75 points. Any chances for invitation? Yes, Dini, if you are living in West Australia and you are into the Schedule 2 or you are a graduate, definitely you should look into that. You're making good chances, and yes, you should hope and apply for the EOI for West Australia. Chances are you might be invited for that. I think I should discuss some other scenarios with the applicants, like people who are on the 482 visa. We have discussed the employer sponsored and the 482 visas. People, sometimes what happens while you are on a 482 visa and your employer gets some adverse information, their nomination is cancelled. In that case, earlier it used to be that you can apply for a new nomination for a new employer within 60 days. That 60 days has been increased to 6 months, and the good thing is that during that 6 months you can work full time. You will be having full work rights, so you can find an employer who is ready to sponsor. You can just lodge the new nomination with the same in your occupation with the new employer, and you can start working with them. Visa you already have, or you can just extend your nomination and you can extend your visa application in that scenario as well. There is a question, already lodged EOI on as offshore software engineer with 100 points for 491. One kid born with blind eyes disability. Is kid refused visa? All refused? Zelin Low, I don't think so. With blind eyes would be a disability for that thing, but yes, we can discuss with this thing. You have to update this department for this thing about your scenario that your child was born and they have disability. We can discuss this case in detail if you want. We can discuss it later on after this thing. But yes, you should. Have you lodged your EOI? No, just lodged. You're just waiting for the invitation. Okay. So in the EOI, there is no such thing, blind eyes disability. But yes, with 100 points as a software engineer, you should be invited. There is a question from Kajal. Hi, I am studying Bachelor's of Nursing in Sydney. It's about to complete soon. So which visa should I go for? Bachelor's of Nursing in Sydney. Can I directly apply for PR visa or look, Kajal, you have just completed your nursing. You have to get your registration from APRA. You have to get your skill assessment done from NMEC as an RN. Meanwhile, if your visa is expiring, you should apply for your temporary residency, because getting an invitation can be time consuming, because there is no such time frame within what time you will be invited for. So it's always advisable after completion of your studies, before your student visa expires, within 6 months of your study completion, you should apply for your TR. Meanwhile, you are being granted your TR, you can start processing your registration with APRA and your NMEC, and then start for applying for your EOI for 190, 491 for the state. And once you are invited, you can proceed for the nomination, and after nomination approval, you can lodge the visa. So definitely you should apply for your TR first. So there is a question, a question from Kamlesh. Chemist, occupation 189, 65 points. Any chance of invitation? Definitely, Kamlesh, if you are having the skill assessment and you are making 65 points, I don't know, you are offshore and or an onshore applicant, you should lodge your application. You should lodge your expression of interest and wait for the invitation. There is a question, Denny, when WIC rules might be released. So I even don't have any idea about this, Dini. We are still waiting on Victoria to announce their requirements. Everyone is asking for Victoria's requirements for 19491 for this year. Definitely they should come up very soon because they had been allocated the allocations for this financial year. There is a question from Vasil. Any chance for cafe and restaurant manager for West Australia? I need to see into the skill list for West Australia. Then, Vasil, if this occupation is there, definitely if you're meeting the requirements for the state and you have the skill assessment, you should apply for the state for the 19491. I think we are not getting more questions anymore from the clients. So I would just like to add on that Aussizz Group, we have different branches all over Victoria and all over Australia. If you, wherever you are, if you have any queries, you can just contact the nearest branch of Aussizz, or you can just contact us through our online portals, whatever, wherever you are, whatever is comfortable. Nearest, we have different branches. We provide different services for different for education, migration, advice. We do also deal with the PT and RT training as well. There are different apps like which you can use for your if you have any questions related to your occupations and everything. I think this is time. Everyone is done with the questions. So just requesting you, if you have any questions, you can just contact the nearest branch of Aussizz for your queries related to education and migration. We have different branches all over Australia. In Victoria also, we have different branches. So yes, or if you can just leave, if you have any further queries, you can just leave your questions drop box and we'll try to answer your questions as soon as possible. So all good. Thank you and good evening.